On today's show, we talk with Larry Yazzie. He'll tell you about his journey from first learning to dance at small community powwows to becoming a champion dancer, and now he stars in movies. Welcome to Powwow Life. I'm your host, Paul Gowder, and this is our show for February 19th, 2019. All right, everybody, tonight on the show, we've got my good friend Larry Yazzie with us. Larry is a powwow dancer, an MC, an actor, and a motivational speaker. He travels all around dancing and giving great messages to the people out there. Larry, thanks so much for being here with us.
Hey, Paul, it's my honor. I just want to say thank you for this awesome opportunity to share my stories and hopes to help somebody out there who wants to do what I'm doing. I
see your pictures on social media, and I got to say, I'm jealous. You get to see all the places you get to go. I'm fortunate with PowWows.com to get to travel some too, but you get to go to some other cool places and really get to perform in front of a lot of different people. So that's pretty cool. Well, before we get to all that, let's back up, and if you could just tell everybody where you're from and kind of how you got started in powwow dancing and all of that.
Absolutely, Paul. I'm from the Meskwaki Nation, which is in central part of the state of Iowa. I started dancing around the age of 7 years old, and since then, Paul, when this powwow would come around once a year, and growing up in a small community in Iowa, I look forward to this powwow. And one year I saw these fancy dancers, and I told my mom, I said, "You know what, Mom, I want to do it. I want to dance." And we didn't have much money back then, but she did what she could with the help of my great aunt, and they pulled together and got supplies together and got me out there the following year. And since then, Paul, I've just been dancing is, I believe, in my blood, and I'm over 50 now, and I still dance fancy, because to dance fancy, as you see the many powwows you've been to, Paul, what it takes to be a fancy dancer. And so from that, fancy dancing has led to many different opportunities and opened many doors for me throughout life.
Yeah, it's really taking you a long way. So, tell us, so you started dancing. What powwow was that? That was the Meskwaki Power?
Yeah, it was our annual Meskwaki Power, which is held every second weekend in August. And I encourage people, natives and non-natives, to come check out this powwow, because it's a powwow, one of a kind of a powwow, where you see different dances: the buffalo head dance, the pipe dance, the bean dance, the swan dance, just different types of beautiful Meskwaki dances. It's a beautiful place to take in the beautiful powwow, and it's held every year. And we've so far, I believe this year we'll be holding our 104th annual Meskwaki Nation powwow. And I've had also the honor to be one of the MCs in the past, but I really enjoy dancing at a powwow. It's much like a homecoming. Too much like to say a big thank you to the Meskwaki community for embracing my art, and also embracing me to speak on their behalf to the world about our powwow. So this is I believe is the doorway, the gateway that got me started to what I'm doing today.
That's cool. Some of the powwows I get to go to, it's really cool to be able to see the not just the powwow dances, but see some of the tribal, the local tribal dances. I always think that's pretty awesome when they incorporate that. So you were going to this, and you were dancing, and your family helped you put together your first outfit. When did you start, hitting the bigger circuit and start traveling around to the Denver March powwows and the Gathering of Nations and those kind of things?
I would say after, when I got into my my senior year in high school, because with school, it took up a lot of my time with sports and playing basketball, and I played basketball year round, and I had some encouragement from some local community members and encouraged me to travel outside the community to different other powwows and to compete. So from there, that's where I realized, this is a whole new level of dancing for me. And it's much like sports. You train for it, you run, you train, you run, you lift weights, and you do whatever it takes to have that extra edge against your dancers that you're competing against. Because again, it takes a lot of effort and patience to work on your craft and to work on your mind, body, spirit. And so, my dancing has really led me to compete at many big powwows, such as like what you stated, the Denver March powwow, the Gathering Nations, Bismarck, the Smithsonian powwows that they held in Connecticut. I've had the opportunities to compete at those powwows and to go up against champion dancers that were at that time in the 80s and 90s. Honored to say I had the honor to share the same dance floor with them.
So let's see, the 80s and 90s, we're talking, who were some of the dancers back then? I guess Dwight White Buffalo was around back then, right?
Yeah, Dwight White Buffalo, the late Billy McClellan, the late Saunders Bearstail. At that time, you had Damon Brady, and those were the innovators. And for me to not only to watch them but also to dance against them was a rush in itself, because you go home and you practice and you run the extra mile and you learn those songs and at that time Bismarck United Tribes was the championship powwow, considered the champion of all champion powwows. If you even just placed at that powwow was a big honor. And the highest place I placed at the Bismarck United Tribes was second place. That was a rush in itself. That was one of my highlights, was to place second. And I believe it was Damon Brady who won first. And at that time, I danced against again the late Saunders Bearstail and other champion dancers at that time.
Yeah. And when did you? I know you got into working on some head staffs, and now of course you're one of the roving MCs for the Gathering. When did you start working on some of that more than just dancing?
Yeah, there's this powwow that they would hold at one of the university powwows. This one was the University of Iowa powwow, and a good friend of mine, a good brother of mine, his name is Dr. Lorenzo Snyder. He was going to school at the University of Iowa, and he put these powwows together at the university, and he approached me to be one of the arena directors and to help run the powwow. And so I was very honored, but yet I was nervous because it was a whole new role for me to be in, because you're coordinating the powwow arena, making sure everything went smoothly. And that was back in the late 80s and early 90s. So that's where I got my foot wet as far as being in the coordinator of the powwows as far as arena directing. Then I got the big call from Gathering Nations powwow to fill in for a roving MC, and that was about, I want to say, that was about six years ago now. So yeah. I must be doing something right, because they keep calling me back. It's a beautiful opportunity, and it's a whole new level. And plus, I get to share the time and show the world, along with PowWows.com, who we are and that we're still here.
Yeah, we've last couple of years we've had some fun interviews and got to do some things together. So yeah, we appreciate you helping us out. It's been fun. Looking forward to this year. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, if it works out, my daughter will be coming with me this year. It'll be her first time to go to Gathering. So I'm looking forward to showing her that and introducing her to all these people that we've always talked about. So yeah, Gathering.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping it can work out school-wise. All right, and now that you're doing the Gathering, you're still dancing, which is amazing. Now, I see you also. Let's talk a little bit about you've got your dance troupe, the Native Pride group. How did that get started? And tell me a little about. You can talk a little bit about some of the guys and ladies that are with you in that group.
Oh man, the Native Pride dancers. Yes, this there was an opportunity for me to do a little school program up in Minnesota, up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and again, everything I dive into is something not only new but also very nerve-wracking, because okay, what am I going to say to all these kids for the very first time? And I'm the only dancer. I'm pretty comfortable being around other dancers at a powwow, but when you're the center of attention of all these kids and teachers are looking at you and wondering what you're going to say or do, and because some of these kids, you have to remember, I've never seen any natives or a powwow at that, so you really have to guide them in and educate them at the same time. But not only educate them, but you also inspire them at the same time. So that's what I believe. You really have to be creative, and you have to do your homework. You got to do your research. You got to know your history. So as a dancer, like I said before, it opened a lot of opportunities for me as a dancer, as a actor, and as a motivator, because you really have to be one step ahead of everybody else as far as what they're thinking. That's what I've learned in the realm of entertainment and presenting.
And I've been on your page and looking at your videos, and the group you've assembled now. I mean, you've got some pretty talented folks with you. So if we see one of your performances as a group, what would be in store for us? What would we get to see there?
Well, I'm a strong believer in inspiring and entertaining at the same time. So again, I'm doing a lot of research. I'm a big fan of music, so I watch other music, like rock music and hip hop, and I try to infuse a little bit of that because the audience, they range from your kindergartens to the high school to the college level to your elders. So I try to infuse a little bit of modern day music and be innovative at the same time. So my dance group, Native Pride Dancers, is a little bit different from other dance groups because the other dance groups could be more traditional. I am traditional, but yet innovative. So I add a little flavor to it, if you know what I mean. Like I'll use modern music, or I'll use the fancy lighting and the sounds that go along with the music. So I try to be innovative at the same time and very creative too.
I always find it fascinating when doing presentations for kids like that. The questions you hear and the things they ask you. You got any good stories about some of the questions and comments you've gotten from these kids?
Oh man, where do I start? Anywhere from where do I eat, where do I live, and how long have Native Americans been around.
Yeah.
To what's my favorite color, to where do I drive and how did I get here, and even as far as is my hair real, my long hair, because they're very fascinated with my long hair. And I always tell them, this is something I always tell the kids, and the teachers love this. And I always say, you want to really know a secret how to grow your hair long and keep it healthy, long, shiny. I always tell them, first of all, before you go to bed, you gotta read for about an hour, and in the morning, eat a well-balanced breakfast, and your hair will grow long and shining like mine. And the teachers love hearing that.
That's awesome. That's great. Very cool. Now you've gotten to perform at some really cool places. The Kennedy Center and all over. I think you've gone out of the country too, right?
Oh, I've been to many different countries. My favorite, or the ones that really stick out in my mind, is Paris, France, the Kingdom of Jordan in the Middle East.
Wow.
Norway, Australia, Guatemala, Finland, Stockholm, Sweden, and it's a unique opportunity to see many different cultures, and it's always the same wherever I go. They're fascinated with the Native American culture, and again, it's a stereotype. Whenever we go to a new place, they get the stereotype that all natives are the same. So again, we're educating at the same time, but yet entertaining. So again, you have to really do your research, and I have to do my research wherever I go, because I want to know what kind of language they speak, what kind of foods they eat, and the people that book us. They're mainly from just the first time they're booking a Native American act into their community, let alone their country. So it's very fascinating to see how they react to us when we greet them at the airport, and then when we get into our regalia, it's like they're just really blown away because of the beautiful regalia that we have on and the music that goes along with it. So it's really nice to see them to really open up to our culture.
And I've gotten a chance to work with you a little bit at Gathering, and I'm always amazed at you exude pride in your tribe and your culture, and I'm sure that comes across when you're performing and working with these folks. And you're authentic. You're you're an actor, but you come across as very authentic and very relatable. Which I'm sure it helps a lot. And one of the things I admire about you. But I know there's a lot of other dancers out there too that are starting to make that transition and going just from their local community powwows and starting to hit some of the big powwows and getting requests at home to do these presentations and to talk to other folks. What kind of things would you tell them is if they're looking to maybe try to follow in your footsteps and start doing this kind of work?
Oh man, Paul, I encourage not only the youth, but I also encourage our older people that to go. If you're still dreaming of something, go do it, man. Chase that dream, because like I said, I'm over 50 now, and I'm still chasing my dreams, Paul. And I'm just now getting into the acting world and doing a little bit of modeling, and that really keeps me in check as far as my health goes, because again, I still want to dance fancy, even though I'm in my 50s. I still want to dance fancy, so I'm out there working out and looking forward to the next powwow I'm going to dance, because like I said before, once a fancy dancer, always a fancy dancer, and fancy dance is in my blood, and I love watching other fancy dancers grow from the tiny tots to the juniors to the teens till they become adults, and you just see the growth, the pride in them. And I always encourage anybody in their own community, they can become a leader, and you can help others, especially our young youth, because the youth sometimes they need a little push sometimes, but if you give them a little pride, something, whether it be dancing or outfit making or singing or whatever it is, it shows that they're doing a big change within their lives, not only in their lives but within their families and within their communities.
Yeah, I think that's really important, is that taking pride in it and connecting with it can really take you places. Obviously, it's taking you all over the world, but I think if more kids really take the time and work at it, it's something that I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's a principal in a school close to where I am, who has a predominant Indian population at his school, and that's one of the things he's working with is trying to. They aren't aware of their culture, and he's working to help them connect, so that they'll have something like what you're talking about, something to look forward to, something to take pride in. So that message is really resonates with me. So I appreciate you saying that.
Oh man, Paul,
yeah.
It's always good to see you at Gather Nations because you yourself, you're very you're one of the nicest guys I ever met on the trail and in my line of work, and what you do for not just for the powwow families, for the powwow world, but you do it for the whole world, people to tune in and understand what they're watching, because what you've done is helped me so much too in more ways than you'll ever know.
I appreciate that. Well, so now you mentioned the acting thing, so let's talk about that. How did you make the transition from being a dancer and an MC to a model and acting?
Oh, geez, how do I get into it? I think, personally, I'm a big fan of movies. I've always been a big fan of movies, and growing up, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I watched these old movies, and the stigma with the old Western movies. They wouldn't use real native actors for their native roles, and until Dances with Wolves came out, and that was real authentic to me, and that really hit me in the heart to see some great acting by Wes Studi, is one of my favorite actors. If you're listening, Wes Studi, I would love to work with you one day. So from there, I've always had people encouraging me, Paul. And they would say, you need to be in movies. You need to try this. You need to try out for this part, And at first, I would just laugh it off. But one day, a producer of a film came up to me and asked me if I would play a lead role up in Minnesota. It was a film called No Blood of Mine. It's an independent movie. It's an independent film, but it really taught me to learn your character. It was like going to school again. I had to learn my lines, how to not only memorize lines, but you also have to be in character. So from there, that really was a springboard for me to reach out to other acting communities around the country. So slowly but surely, I'm getting the calls to do more. So I just completed another film a year ago called Coyote. It's about the border, the southern border along Arizona. I play a border patrol, a Native American border patrol agent. So that's coming out very soon. So, one thing led to another, just like in the acting world, it's like powwow world. It's a small world. Everybody knows each other, especially with Native actors. You're if you do well, you do good. Word is the best advertising. So word by mouth is the best advertising. So I get recommended quite a bit within producers and directors.
Yeah, it's cool to see that more films are hiring actual Native actors. It's encouraging, and I hope more people will get involved in that. Your new movie that's coming out, so you play a border patrol agent. Are there other natives in that one, or?
I was the one of the main characters, but there is the other native, couple others, but they were like in maybe one or two scenes the most, and I was in throughout the whole film.
Yeah, I've been watching the development of that and seeing all the pictures come out. So I'm looking forward to that. Where can we, when that comes out, where can we go to see that? Is it going to be in any of the reservations, or how's it going to be shown?
Right now, it's picked up by it goes through the film festival route. So we're waiting on which film festival will be picked up. for example, the Twin Cities International Film Festival will pick it up, or other major film festivals around the country. But the good news is, check this out, Paul, it's going to be released on DVD the week of Gather of Nations Powwow. So I'll give you your own personal copy at Gather of Nations Powwow.
Sweet. All right. and we'll make sure, anybody who's listening, we'll make sure we have links to that when it goes on sale to make sure everybody can get a copy of that. And of course, we'll post some more articles and help promote that when we get closer to it. That's awesome. We've already done some promotion and articles for it, so definitely want to follow that. That's gonna be cool. And so what else? What's on the horizon for you now? Where do you go from here?
Oh, glad that you asked that. As you can see, if you watch my social media, about a couple months ago, for me, long story short, a few months ago, I hit a low in my life. We go through ups and downs in life, and I really felt I hit a low because health-wise, I wasn't as fit, and I wasn't as healthy as I wanted to be. And I don't know if that comes with age or, just something, a new challenge, but I felt like I needed to switch up my life, Paul. So I got on this diet similar to the keto diet. So I completely cut out the carbs and the sugary foods and the sodas. And Paul, I just, put everything aside. I started focusing on my healthy side of life and being fit, and just wanted to really bring back the old Larry that was really fit back in when I was in my 20s and 30s. And so I felt like I made a big circle. So again, and about 7 years ago, I had this knee surgery on my left knee, and it just really took a toll on my spirit, took a toll on my body, and I wasn't able to run. I wasn't able to train as hard. I wasn't able to dance fancy, let alone dance fancy. So it really, I felt I really went through a sad time in life, a depressing time in life, and I finally got tired of being sick and tired, and I put all the bad habits away, and I started focusing on my health and my sobriety, and I started focusing on the good way of living, walking in a good way in life. So I'm coming back to be a fancy dancer again, Paul.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. That's great. All right. So what powwows you hitting this year?
Well, I made a commitment to come out for a Denver March powwow. And I think if Melanie lets me, I want to dance maybe one go round at Gather Nations Powwow while I'm roving MC there.
That'd be awesome. Hey,
wouldn't it?
Do some interviews from the floor. I think that'd be cool.
That would be, yeah. I have my GoPro on and my mic with me, so it'd be good.
Awesome. That's really cool. All right. Well, again, I really appreciate you spending the time with us and talking about it. It's so awesome to hear a story of, coming from your community powwow in Iowa all the way to starring in a movie. It's an amazing story. Any other advice you'd have for the young people listening and the dancers that are just now getting started, and the singers out there that are, just starting to practice and go to their local powwows? What would you tell them?
My number one advice, Paul, is keep yourself grounded, be humble. When I come home to my community, I jump in my old wood truck and I'm helping people out. I'm out there cutting wood. I'm helping my mom. We go to the grocery store together, help her out as much as I can, carry in her groceries. Just being home and be humble, ground yourself at all times. Try to learn about your family, about your culture, about your language, about your history, because it's very important to go out and educate the non-natives, because even today, we're in 2019 going into 2020 in a political world here. It's a scary time, and I think about my kids, growing up in this political climate that we're in right now. It's very scary. So we have to hang on to our rights. We have to fight for our rights, and that's what I want to encourage our young people, is to learn who they are and where we come from as Indigenous people.
That is great advice. It is difficult times right now. And one of the ways we can get through this is being humble and learning from our elders and connecting back with our culture. I think that's the way we're going to move forward, and staying together as communities. Great advice. Larry, as always, I really appreciate talking to you, and looking forward to seeing you in just a couple months.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. I'm just, how time flies, right? So, I live life to the fullest each day. And like I said, each day is a new day. And again, I want to thank you, Paul, for all the opportunities you've given me over the years at Gather Nations, and even allowing me to go live through PowWows.com at our local community powwow here at the Meskwaki Indian Settlement.
Yeah, I'm going to have to come up there and check that out one year, too. I'd love to see those dances.
Absolutely, Paul. Anytime.
All right. Well, thanks, Larry, again. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the trail sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Paul, and we'll see you in a couple months at Gather Nations Powwow.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Have a good night.
Thanks. That'll do it for this week's episode of Powwow Life. Thanks for being with us again this week, folks. And we really appreciate Larry for spending the time with us this week, and we're looking forward to seeing him at Gathering Nations real soon. The music from tonight's show is by Young Bear. We got links in the show notes where you can download or purchase their CDs. I'm Paul Gatter from PowWows.com. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you down the trail.